Okay, what's up? I think we're about to get started. And we are. Hey guys, welcome to another SAT Solved Live. For today's test, I'm in a sort of a pickle. The pickle being that it looks like I've taken this test before, and as a result, we'll see, but I feel like I've taken this whole test fairly recently, okay? And I don't remember when, but it seems like it was fairly recent. And I looked up, so I think I've taken this particular test maybe twice so far, which means at that point, the memory will probably start kicking in when I'm reading the passages. Now, I have a bit of mixed news about this. The bad news is I could not find a recording of my first time taking this test. So it looks like I just didn't record myself at all. The kind of softening good news is I do have a copy of my initial annotation when I did it the first time. The first time. When I did it the first time, I annotated it. I marked it up basically, not annotating because that's kind of a different connotation, but I marked it up with like my time and whatnot. So we could actually go and look into that if that's valuable. I don't know if that would be valuable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this test for probably the third time in my life. Which means that I will probably start remembering things like as I go through it. And then after I go through it all, it's going to be probably an inflated performance. It's going to be a little unrealistic how I do on this, I assume. Afterwards, if it seems like it's productive after I try it all, then I can kind of show you guys my markings on the on my original PDF. So I can do that if it seems like it's beneficial. If it doesn't, then we might just skip that. I don't know because I have to just try it out to see how it works. All right, so that's my big qualifier for this particular SAT Solve Live. It's not actually my first time seeing it, so that will color the experience. That said, we can get started. Let me set up my stopwatch. Okay, I'm just fixing up some lighting. All right, I think we're ready to get started. Let me make sure my pencil's working okay. All right. Yeah, I think it'll be my third time seeing this. So, that said, it's better to get it on the third time rather than on like my 30th time, because by the 30th time, you've just memorized the whole thing. So it's better to get it earlier rather than later. So let's get into it. Today, I have more presence of mind to remind myself, oops, that's our Discord. There we go. To remind myself to actually flip back and forth between these things. Yesterday was a complete S show because I kept forgetting to turn my screen on. It was just nonsense. Okay. All right, so that is what we're solving, the 2021 April School Day QAS. I feel better than yesterday, but I do feel a little sleepy, so we'll see how that affects my performance. The key thing to do when I'm like tired and like like the main thing I do when I'm tired and just sort of not focused is I use music when I can, but on YouTube it's complicated because I can't because of licensing issues. So listen to music to kind of pump myself up, and just like deep breathing. Deep breathing just makes my head feel clearer. If you guys have tips for kind of increasing your focus when you're tired, I'd be curious what you guys do, and any of your tips may actually be something that changes someone else's lives. So if you'd be willing to share in the comments below. All right, we're about to get going. I'm at 0 at the moment, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Anna, 1935, is working with, newsreel is weird as a name of a person. Okay, I was expecting an organization called Newsreel, and they're creating a documentary film. Okay, but that is weird, and I think that's the first thing to catch. Ooh, the quality of this PDF is real. Give me a sec. Huh. This is the other PDF that I had been given. Pause. Huh. I feel like this would not look good on YouTube. So this is the PDF I downloaded on what's it called? On the from Reddit. I am lacking words right now, but I think it would be a little too much work to go and find another PDF. I am kind of curious though, the McElroy tutoring site, like what their PDF looks like. Because even if I use this particular PDF, I think it'd be good to just recommend a better PDF. But McElroy tutoring has the same file, so I don't know where this academy gave me this other file that's much clearer, but I don't know where to I don't know where to get it. So, all right, let's just work with this. And I'm restarting time. I am at 35 seconds, by the way, so I'm just gonna type that in. Oops, what's going on? Okay. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Speaks Cantonese with an American accent, her father has always said. A little bit of that Asian shame, no Mandarin or Shanghainese. Now she requires an interpreter. Okay, so she's an American to visit her homeland. Are they in Shanghai? I can't tell. It's just as well as the newsreel is silent. Okay, very confusing. The newsreel versus newsreel, right? Not the same. Okay, not the same. The newsreel is silent, she thinks. The announcer's voice is to be added later. A little bit of insecurity, you can tell. So you can already kind of tell there's some bit of insecurity here that she's feeling. Newsreel films her at Kew Gardens. She is glad to learn that the word is peng. That's kind of cute. Peng. Peng. He films her on the Bund. Oh, Shanghai. Point out junks. More cars than she expected, though she must try a rickshaw. So it's a bit of a tourism right now. More cars, more telephones, more streetlights. Okay. Make a net. This telegraph line net. The modernity. It reminds me, okay. Berlin versus Cathay is like this. Cathay is what? Oh, it's just China. Oh, okay. Cathay just means China. Where did that word come from? But it looks nothing like Grauman's theater. So it's more modern than she's expecting. Interesting. We're more repetition, more Chinese, compradors, lots of. She feels like an extra, huh? And she's glad of her chic, Western for. Interesting. She used to be an extra back in the day, and then she. Has now been called the world's best dressed. A laundry. That's a big accomplishment, dude. 1834. In 1934. Oh my God! Imagine being considered that as a Chinese person in 1934. That's crazy in America. That insecurity is coming back. If you like, she repeats a gesture, a wrist, practicing, and he's like, "What are you doing?" 4:05 right now. It's time to change the reel to his rhythm. I'm kind of confused about some things, but I'm not sure what. She feels as if she's winding her. Oh, as if he's winding her up like a tin toy. So he's the dominant power right now. She leans on a rail, waiting for him, and when he raises up, she lifts her own Leica to take a picture of him. Okay, interesting reversal. This is her taking. And then he's like, "You look like a tourist," and she frowns. Right. Okay, interesting. She gets a new word. Hang on, what? Okay, she gets rid of the Western dresses and she goes for Qipao. Going native, interesting. So that's an interesting transition from the previous when she was trying to stand out, but now she's blending in. Stand out versus invisible. Those dresses. Okay. Huh. What's the... Okay. So there's actually a lot of back and forth. Stop. 6 minutes. There's a lot of back and forth in this story of her just sort of dealing with her success and her feeling displaced. It's kind of complex actually. And I think when I first read this, it might have taken me a lot of time. Ooh, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, that's long for me for what do you call it? For a literature passage. So, and actually I want to go back to when I first read it. This is pretty useful. Yeah, when I first read it, I was like kind of confused by this thing, right? Interesting. I literally did the same thing over here. Literally the same thing over here with the more Chinese. Okay. Glad of her for standing out. Interesting. And then... Yeah, the new wardrobe. Interesting. It took me 30 extra seconds on my first time, which, so even on my third time, I think this is my third time reading this, it's actually not extremely easy. And the reason is because the conflict in this particular story is pretty understated. It's a very low grade, hard to sort of perceive sense of insecurity. There she is, out in Shanghai, not able to speak the language, but secretly being glad of her chic Western wardrobe because she actually is like this amazing woman that like succeeded as like the most like in the fashion world, even though she's Chinese in 1934 or something like that, you know. But now in Shanghai, she's kind of a nothing. So she wants to not be a nothing, right? So there's that insecurity. But then this newsreel guy, he's like winding her up like a toy. So she's like powerless in a way. And then she tries to gain some power by reversing on him, by taking a picture of him, but then she becomes cut down as a tourist. So then she gets like a chipao. You know, it's a very, it's complex. It's actually pretty dense. It's a pretty dense story. So if you struggled with this one, if you're not strong on literature and you struggled on this one, it's pretty, I would say this is actually a harder one to just read and understand, okay, compared to the other literature passages. So it's not just you. All right. Oh, so I should do my summary. My summary is, sorry, I just got really sleepy. My summary is, oh, and by the way, I should make myself say this every time. I want you to stop this video, if you can pause, right? I want you to pause this video, and I want you to summarize everything that you remember from the beginning to the end of this story, specifically trying to map out, like, oh, is it in the top left, top right, or bottom right of the page? Or is it even on the second page, top or bottom, right? Try to remember where certain ideas or certain developments in the story come out, okay? And say it as far as chronologically as possible, okay? All right, here's my summary. She needs an interpreter. She's in Shanghai. She needs an interpreter because her father says that she's not good at. She can speak some Cantonese, but it sounds like an American's Cantonese, right? So she needs an interpreter. And after that, what do we have? We have her sort of doing touristy seeming things. She's at the Bund and the whatever in Shanghai. And I just know it's Shanghai because of the Bund, but if you don't know, you just have to know some city in China. Then hang on. Then at the bottom left, newsreel. Oh, actually, sorry. At the top left, there's actually something I forgot, which is about how she uses an interpreter, and then she has this like back and forth with herself about how silent film. It's like something she feels awkward about something about how the newsreel is silent, but it's like, oh, wasn't she better at silent anyway? So there's this like throwaway thing, but it actually kind of foreshadows her. It kind of sets the theme of her insecurity. Okay, so that was kind of significant for that reason. Then the second paragraph is her being kind of taking pictures and whatnot. And then I don't remember the bottom left. That's crazy. I don't remember the bottom left. But the top right, we start talking about how she is secretly glad. Oh, the bottom left is her talking about how modern China seems to her. It's like Berlin, except for this one theater part or whatever. But like, it's like Berlin. More importantly, though, or something like that. And this is the top right. It says, but she more strikingly, though, or something like that. It says she was noticing how many more Chinese people there are, and now she felt like an extra again. Now she wants to stand out. She's secretly happy that she has her Chanel suit or something like that, right? So again, this is her insecurity peeping through. Then we have this amazing fact about her, which is amazing just from a human interest angle, like not for fiction, but just as a person. It's like it's just interesting. 1934 World's Best Dressed Woman award in America as a Chinese person who was raised as a laundromat's daughter. Hell yeah, she effing made it. Yeah, so that's a big deal. So what a crazy time, imagining that. But But she had that, and so we had this interesting background detail about her. But then there's like this weird tension between her and her father. But like, yeah. So that was the middle of the right side, and then at the bottom, we get her being insecure again with her doing these gestures and whatever, and trying to match the newsreel guy, the photographer, or cinematographer, or like the videographer. I don't know what he is, but the guy who's doing it, she is like doing all these gestures. She's kind of insecure. She's being wound up like a toy. And then at the top of the third column, she's like, she pulls the camera out on him, and then he's like, "You look like a tourist." So then she goes to, then she discards all her Western clothes and goes. She frowns first. That's important, and then she gets rid of her Western clothes and she gets a cheap how. And when she does that, she like again blends in better. That's what it says. But she needs to stand out. She's relying on newsreel to make her stand out. And I feel like there might be something I'm missing there. And then at the very end, she actually later on will sell these or rent out these dresses that she used in her 1930s trip to Shanghai. And I feel like there's something in between, but I can't remember that. Okay, so that's how much of the passage I remembered. How did your memory of the passage compare? Again, the whole point of this is that you want to have a good sense of where these ideas come out, right? So that when you look at the question stems and you see the line references, you don't need to go back in totally blind and dumb. You actually kind of already know where it's supposed to come out. Okay, so that's the whole point of this. So how well did your map compare to my map? All right, I'm about to get into the questions now. Here we go. I'm at 6 minutes. 3, 2, 1, let's go. What happens? Well, she goes to a different country and feels insecure, and that's it. Comply with expectations. Compares customs. I don't know. Work on a project causes her to reflect on her place. Wow, that's a little very, very broad. Very broad. But yeah, that's the only one. I mean, I had to get through that with process elimination. Which choice best supports the idea that Anna's ability to speak Cantonese does not help her communicate? Oh, because she needs because she needs an interpreter. So that's like lines 1 through 5. 3 to 5. Yeah. That's where the Cantonese comes out. So you should just know that immediately. That's 7 minutes. Which choice best describes the initial reaction? So this partly I am remembering because this is my third time seeing this passage. But basically, her initial reaction is, "Whoa, cars, telegraph lines, blah blah blah." Right. So she's fashion. No. Oh wow, that was hard to find. Not antiquated. Remember, she says how modern it is. I'll find it over here. Marvels at the modernity. That's 22, right? So that's the opposite of antiquated. So yeah. Oh, 22 over here. There we go. So that's 740. Okay. This is unrealistically fast. Just reminding you guys if you're coming in late to the stream. The reason I'm so fast is because this is my third time seeing this passage. Line 3278, stand out primarily refers to. Now, I actually was very sensitive to those words, but just to remind you guys, stand out is her standing out over here, and then 72, standing out over here. And it's interesting because both of these times that she's trying to stand out, where's the stand out over here? I can't find it. But both of these times it's when she's talking about like her clothes and standing out from the Chinese people. Hang on, where's the question? 78. Okay, well, stand out. Okay, so right, she's comparing how she looks in the crowd. She doesn't want to just be blended totally into the Chinese crowd. So Primary starts to show how she wants to stand out from the rest. Assimilate into the culture. We're more visual. Yeah. Distinctive. Okay. Right, we're talking about like her clothes basically at this point, and like her Chanel and the Chipao and all that stuff. 33, 36. Fifth paragraph primarily serves to. Fifth paragraph primarily serves to. So we should look at 33, 36. So this is about, oh yeah, it's oh wow, very informative context about what kind of struggle she had to go through, like a lot of background about her. Her current success and modest upbringing, she made a big jump. She was, we don't know about numerous, we only have one, okay? 940. What's the primary sin? Okay, this is her kind of trying to take some control, and then here, I'll just keep going with this. So I know that this is actually already the correct answer because I'm basically remembering this at this point. But if you are thinking, the prediction I just made, then you should be thinking like, she's like trying to take more control, right? But does she become more an acceptance of this act? He doesn't accept this act. He calls her a tourist, right? But does this mean she realizes she has less autonomy? No. This is not some sort of loss of autonomy, but it does make her reassess how she presents herself to others. This one's actually, I think, a fairly hard question, mainly from the question answer choice wording. Okay, but remember, she actually goes and changes her dress after this. Line 75, recall most nearly means like remember. Maybe she can't remember. Yeah. 11. Dressing in Chinese, feel that she's blending in better, but maybe more anonymous. Because she blends in better, but she can't. Yeah, she feels invisible. 76. So 11:15. And she purchases these items. What are these items? That later serve. Okay, I see. So this is at the end. She'll wear those dresses and charge a fee to rent her wardrobe. Okay, so she will rent. Okay. So that's the passage indicating that. Okay? If you chose one of the other ones, you're interpreting way too much. You have to think about what the actual passage demonstrably shows. Okay, that's 11:45. So I tried to slow down my taking of this passage. I tried to make it feel more like what it would be like when I did it the first time. But it's a little awkward just because I know what I know. But I'm trying to at least not jump the gun so that you can kind of imagine what it was like for me the first time. Now let's actually see how much time I took I took literally 11:45 the first time. So yeah, this is not the easiest passage for me for literature. For literature, I'm usually aiming at like 10 minutes. So this is not the easiest passage for me either. So if you're struggling on this one, it's natural. Okay? And some of these questions were a little hard. That said, I kind of, I'm confident in all these answers. So let's just go ahead and score them. Let's go ahead and score them, and then compare against the first time I took this. Where's the? Oh, excuse me. Okay, and now we're looking. 1 through 4, I chose D, A, D, B. D, A, D, B are correct. 5 through 7, I chose D, B, A, D, B, A are correct. C, A, C, A, A are correct. All right. These answers seem like a reconstruction. They feel kind of weird, but okay. I'm just going to trust that this is an actual QAS and move on. So I got 10 out of 10, but again, this is my third time taking this test, so that's kind of to be expected. I tried to be realistic with how it would have been more like when I took it the first time. But let me go right into the tips. Okay. The hard part of this particular passage is really, it's like you have to pick up on the fact that she's, whoa, what's going on? Okay, you have to pick up on the fact that she's insecure pretty early. The earlier you figure it out, the better the whole passage gets for you, okay? She feels a little out of place. She feels a little awkward. And you need to pick that up as earlier rather than later, okay? When you're reading literature, SAT literature tends to be very character driven. Okay, so it's about like how well you understand a character's emotions and their motivations. So you want to just get the emotion. You want to be asking yourself, what is this character thinking and feeling, and what is this character wanting, right? And you should be thinking, she's thinking China's kind of different. She's feeling kind of awkward, and she's wanting to kind of be special, right? She wants to be special, but also to feel connected. It's just like this dual thing right there that she's like doing. And you should be answering that question for yourself while you're reading this. Because this bit of like internal dialogue, if you're a very, very astute reader, you should basically pick it up right away. Her father has always said a little bit of that shaming, and then plus she's psyching herself out. Oh, wasn't this actually my strength anyway, right? You should be able to pick it up there. But even if you don't pick it up there, you should be getting at the feeling like an extra again, right? You can kind of, yeah, this is really subtle actually, but you can kind of know through the accumulation of these very small hints, these tiny hints, that she has a bit of an insecurity inside, okay? And if you don't know this, then I would say you may just not have enough to build this. It's not impossible to build this up, okay? I built this up by reading a lot of literature, but I wasn't naturally good at understanding other people's emotional states, okay? It's something I had to build over time. But if you're not good at it right now, I don't know if you should focus too much on improving it like in the next month or in the next 2 weeks, okay? But this is what a good reader will do. They will know their emotional state, especially by line 32. You should or line 36 or so. By that point, you should sort of know what her emotional state is, okay? Now, that's the first thing that you really need to get. You need to get that she has a little bit of insecurity about this whole thing. The second thing, with this particular passage, right, the feels naked, by the way, also helps with that first thing. I guess this transition really is important. Like you need to go from her just like making observations about, just like generic observations about her situation, to something more personal. Okay, this is when we get more directly personal. So you should definitely know. You should note that this transition over here is when we're finally talking about them versus me. Them, the Chinese locals in Shanghai, versus me, the sort of successful American Chinese who's wearing a Chanel suit, but wasn't really acknowledged by my father for my accomplishments, or acknowledged by my father for my Cantonese ability, right? So there's that sort of duality going on. So you should just know that you should at least, even if you can't get that detailed like I just did, you should still be able to know that this is where we're getting personal. Okay, and if you were a little confused over here, that's fine. I was confused on my first time reading it, but then you should get this thing, okay? She's taking a picture of him, which is a reversal. It's the opposite, right? Because he's the one who was paid to take pictures of her, and she takes a picture of him, and then he goes, "You look like a tourist," and she frowns, okay? And then, like fans raise, hide them from gaze. She outfits herself with a new wardrobe and gets a qipao, and this is a parallel to the Chanel bit, okay? Chanel and qipao, okay? And it's actually the flip side of that initial bit. But this time, when she's wearing these clothes, she's feeling like she's going native, right? And she blends in better, right? So we should be doing like a comparison contrast here, okay? And she feels invisible, right? So then over here, this is the critical moment. I think a more stereotypical, a simpler story, okay? A simple story would be, I'm like this successful American, I feel awkward in my homeland, okay? But I'm wearing my Chanel suits, but then this dude calls me a tourist. So what's like the obvious conclusion now, right? You should make this obvious conclusion. You should be able to predict it. I'll give everyone 10 seconds. So I get rid of my Chanel suits, I accept my heritage, I dress in qipao, and I'm happy in Chinese. Okay. That is the most stupid, but very Disney-able, very easy to sell story. It's a very simple story. I said stupid, but that sounds too negative. I'm not going to say stupid. I'm going to cancel stupid. I'm sorry I said stupid, but it's a very straightforward story that you could tell, okay? But that's not this story, which is why the third thing you really need to pick up is this part. But she fears she's neither this nor that. You know what I mean? She wears a qipao, and that doesn't solve her issues either. So be aware of that particular transition as well. And then this bit of extra fee to rent her wardrobe. What an understatement, right? What a letdown compared to like if you were expecting like a story where she like kind of finds herself in the qipao, right? Then the qipao becomes like this very romantic thing, and then she puts it in her wardrobe and keeps it forever, like in this precious thing, and then she brags to her grandchildren about it, right? That would be more like a Disney story, right? But here instead, she just rents it out for money. That's actually kind of funny if you think about it. It's a bit ironic. It's a bit it sort of deflates the meaning of that qipao a little bit, right? So actually that's crazy. Until I had to explain it, I never really appreciated the story that much. But now that I'm explaining it, I appreciate it quite a bit because it's kind of realistic. All right, that was my, so my three tips for this particular story is first, get her insecurity. Second, get the Western wardrobe bit. And third, okay, get the qipao parallel, okay? And then, I guess there is kind of a fourth one in this one. And then fourth, you should feel the letdown of her, like you should feel like, oh, she actually doesn't resolve her insecurity through the qipao, right? So you should at least get. But yeah, so this was actually a hard one. This one's a hard passage to break down. So again, this is not. This is going to be if you struggle on this one, I think you should focus less on this one. You should focus more on the other literature passages and make sure you're stronger on them first. Okay. Yeah, you watched me do that whole passage, and I'm wondering, what does that mean? I'm not sure if that's like a good thing or a bad thing. What do you mean? Hopefully I was entertaining and informative. Let's get into the second passage now. I am at 11:45. Oh, I just want to double check. Did I struggle on any of these? Oh, I guess not. I got a 10 out of 10 the first time. Okay, yeah. 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 So, again, that's a little longer than I would normally take on a literature passage. Here we go, second passage. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Anti-profit bias that blinds us to the benefits of free markets. Anti-profit bias in 2017. Okay, we're at 12 minutes. So we don't like profit for some reason. I'm not fully sure. I think if I first read this, I would not be fully sure what that meant. An instinctual anti-profit bias. So I'm kind of curious what anti-profit bias would mean, right? We distrust companies. That I can imagine. Okay, the more profitable they are, the more harmful they are. In fact, the opposite is true. Greater profits tend to contribute more. This is, right. So when I first read this, I was like, whoa, this is a rare pro-capitalism passage. So here we go. Erasmus University. Stop. I just flipped out because I feel like I recorded my first time watching this. My first time solving this, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. Like, when did I? Because I just had deja vu about what I just said. Like, I feel like I literally said that before in a previous recording. But okay, sorry. I'm just gonna continue. God, I can't find it. So, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Amit Bhattacharjee, okay, so I'm going to call him AB, believes these guys believe that it leads to endorse anti-profit policies, okay, opposite outcomes. It actually leads to worse policies for society. So it's kind of counterintuitively harming. Through 7 studies, now we're going to the experiment design. They present evidence that the bias arises because, okay, we're focusing on the why. We think about for-profit motives in a superficial egocentric fashion, egocentricity, which means selfish intent. It's based on selfish intent. So it must be bad. That's the logic. Disregarding the reality that selfish intents can have positive consequences. Okay, we're at 14:10. We also, so there's a secondary reason, refer to our own mundane zero-sum experiences in which the seller's profit is our loss. Okay, we have zero-sum thinking. So we have egocentric thinking and we have zero-sum thinking. How to operate on a massive scale, and at scale, they actually need to innovate, behave, and they have to have good reputation to be profitable over the long term. When you're at scale, you need to think long term, which is not zero-sum. For instance, now we're getting examples now. Okay, right. So these companies are probably right. There's a clear pattern. The bigger the company, the less they want to do bad business practice. Okay. Oh, okay. The more they assume that they engage in bad business practice. In fact, it's actually the opposite. But no data. No data. Wow. What? Okay. Participants were presented with vignettes of different companies, either told They operate for profit or not for profit. Okay. So this is a different study. Okay. More likely to cause harm and less likely to bring benefit, right? If they're described as for profit. Okay, right. Okay, you can weaken their anti-profit bias if they prompted them to think how long-term profit motive could encourage innovation, quality, and treatment, and reputation. Okay, however, this is not a natural way of thinking. They just assume, baseline judgment about for-profit companies were about the same as the few choices. Oh, okay, interesting. That's an interesting. That's a little technical. Okay, I will put that as a little bit of an aside. Regardless of economic knowledge or political. Okay, that's interesting. That's an important. Significance for that study. However, this is a limitation. It's U.S. only, so we need to find other cultures. Wow, no data, huh? Just methodology and theory. Okay, no data. 17:10. Stop the time. No data. That took me almost. No, not quite 6. Okay, that's actually pretty fast. 5 minutes and 25 seconds. 5 minutes, 30 seconds. So let's see how long it took me my first time reading it. Ooh, 17:20. So it's the same, basically, except I didn't do this. So here, let me count this real quick. I'm gonna parse this. I'm gonna figure out this figure. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Perceived profit and perceived value. Oops. Oh my God, what the? Okay, so we're talking about perceived. So the higher the perceived profit, the lower the social value. So higher the profit, the lower. That makes sense. The lower the social value. And there's one outlier. So that's something to pay attention to. That's 17:45. Stop. So that actually took me, maybe because I'm trying to be too realistic, because it's my third time watching. This actually feels like my second time reading this actually. You know what? I think I don't know if I read this. This feels like my second time reading this particular passage, because I might have done the literature one 3 times and this one's just twice now. But maybe I'm trying to be overly realistic by explaining everything slow and talking slowly as I'm doing this. So I'm actually slower than on my first time. Like my first time, I only took 17 minutes and 20 seconds to finish this. So yeah, I took too much time, I think. Anyway, that was exactly 6 minutes for this passage. Now let's get into it. My summary. Again, when I do my summary, I want you to also do your summary. What's up, Amaze? I want you to do your summary and compare how good is your map compared to my map. Okay, so starting from the top left. Oh wait, how many columns? This is 2 columns and 1 graph. Yeah. Okay. So top left. We talk about it. Top left. Anti-profit bias. First, we just define it. We say that people have a tendency to assume that the greater the profit, the more harmful the company, even though the opposite is true. I think that's the first paragraph. The second paragraph and maybe third paragraph together explain why we think that. And so the first reason we think that, maybe the sequence is wrong. Maybe the second paragraph is actually we describe AB first, Bhattacharjee, but AB, Amit B, right? So I'm going to call him AB now. You know what? That is the second paragraph. The second paragraph introduces the team and their rough research. I don't remember the details in that paragraph, but basically right after that, it talks about the 2 reasons why we have an anti-profit bias, which I'm sitting up a little straighter and I'm trying to wake myself up. The first reason why is because we have a sort of self-centric, an egocentric view of how companies work. We assume that they are self-centered and that is a bad thing. Something like that. I don't remember the exact details. And the second reason is that we have a sort of zero-sum mentality where we assume that just like car dealerships where we lose if we don't negotiate hard, that's how the economy works at scale. But even though in reality at scale, it actually benefits you to have win-win situations where you're thinking about your reputation and your treatment of people and employees and blah, blah. So all of that's, so those are the 2 reasons. Then we go into the experiment design. And I think there's 2 parts to the experiment to study, if I remember. The first experiment was, it's weird because they didn't give any data, so like I kind of forget what the experiment was. It starts at the bottom left and goes up to the top right, but there's like no data, so I actually forgot this. Something about Fortune 500 companies. Fortune 500 companies that, and they're perceived, I think it's literally just perceptions. I think it's not even like a real experiment. It's just like a little survey or something where they just take the Fortune 500 companies and then we check how harmful we think they are. Isn't that basically all that the first one was? I don't remember it anymore, okay? So that's the first part of the study. The second part of the study is, it starts at it's like the first full paragraph on the right side. The second part of the study is, it's so hard to remember because there's no data. I mean, though data actually comes out a little bit of data comes out in the figure afterwards, but like it's hard to like visualize something when they don't give me an actual. I think it's actually poorly argued now that I think about it, because it makes it harder to remember. I don't remember the second thing, okay, but it's in the middle of the right side, okay, so that's that. Oh, dude, frustrating. And then the bottom of the right side. Oh, sorry, tired. The bottom of the right side. Capitalist. Dude, I don't remember, guys. Okay, so what that means is what this means is I have a map, and I can kind of imagine what would be there, right? But to use a metaphor from video games, it's like the fog of war, okay? So I have a map, and in my head I can clearly see that the bottom left and the top right are kind of gray, okay? It's like a fog, and I kind of know what's there. And then especially the middle right and bottom right, it's kind of black. It's like a black cloud. And so if I want to know, sorry, my nose is like really itchy right now. But if I want to know what's in there, I have to go back and just skim it again to remind myself what's there. Okay, I can't be sure of what's in there. So this means that when I go through the questions, I'll just be aware that I don't know, that I will know that I don't know. Okay, that's the main thing. And then there's the figure which proves the thing that that they were talking about, which is that more profit, lower social harm is their perception. We're just talking about perceptions right now. What's not being argued? One thing that is important to note though is there's no argument that there's actual. It's actually a pretty clear assumption from the authors here that economics the assumption is that they are assuming that it's true that profitable companies have to think about reputation and all this stuff, and it makes them better. It makes them, yeah. So it's actually not a really good argument, okay, It's just talking about their perceptions and then just saying that they're wrong. Okay, so it's not a real strong argument about why they're wrong. It's more of an argument about how they come to become wrong, like why their reasoning is wrong. Okay, rather than how what they are saying is actually factually true. So that makes this a little weird to imagine. I just remembered though some of the details though. I just remember the right side. The right side is where it's. I think there's like a part that I'm missing, but like kind of like getting close to the bottom of the right side, we talk about how AB the guys could mitigate. They can actually make the participants think. Like change their thoughts a little bit by emphasizing how long-term thinking actually benefits profit, something like that. So they could find some way of attenuating that connection, okay? And at the very end, there's this bit about how this is just a US study. This actually holds for regardless of political leaning or economic knowledge, right? All types of people seem to have anti-profit bias, but this is a US specific phenomenon, so we have to investigate other bits. So now I kind of remember. Now the whole right side is mainly clear except for a little bit of gray spots. Now I kind of know what's in the right side. Wow, that was a hard summary. That was a really hard summary. I don't know how much of this summary was hard because I was sleepy and how much of this summary was hard just because this passage is not full of details, so it's hard to remember. Probably a little bit of both. So that was hard to remember. How was your map of the passage compared to my map of the passage? Mine, I actually struggled with it quite a bit, but I became very detailed by the end. How did you do on your map of the passage? Let me know in the comments below. And now I'll be going into the passage. Sleepy. Okay, here we go. 1746. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Main purpose is to talk about how people are wrong. Yeah. It doesn't actually refute it. That is exactly what I was looking for. The second paragraph mainly serves to explain who the authors are and what their motivations were. Hang on. Oh, consequences, that's right. Whoa, I just went pause. Oh, okay, I can tell I'm sleepy. I can tell I'm not acting normal. Probably because I'm sleepy. And what's the thing that I'm doing that's wrong right now? That's not good. Did you guys catch it? I didn't predict, okay? I went from 12, the question stem, and I went to the passage to kind of begin to predict the answer, but I didn't actually make a prediction. I just went straight into ABCD, and I kind of went through process of elimination backwards. It was a mess. Okay, that did not save me time by doing it that way. I'm 1835, by the way. It did not save me time. Thankfully, it still only took me 30 seconds, but it didn't give me a lot of confidence doing it that way. So I don't recommend doing that. What I should have done is I should have done 12 to 30. 12. I should have been like, I should have gone back to double check my prediction. Oh, dude, I'm so fuzzy right now. Okay, I'm gonna keep powering through to finish this passage at least, but I might have to take a break after this because I'm struggling. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Positive, 30, positive most nearly means 30. Selfish intents can have beneficial consequences. Beneficial, exactly. 1845. That was only 10 seconds. the passage most strongly suggests that one overlooked influence on the behavior of for-profit companies is the fact that they have to worry about reputation. It's in the financial interest to act in ways that people regard. That's reputation. That's reputation. That's just reputation in a different language. Yeah. The other ones don't help. That's 1915, and that's the bottom left or top, like middle left, bottom left. Okay, that's this one over here. 30. That's like 35 to 39ish, 38ish. So sloppy right now, but yeah, there we go. 38. 1930. Woo! Let's keep going. So tired. 63. Naturally. However, thinking this way doesn't seem to come intuitively. Oh hell yeah, intuitively. 1945. Because it's not natural for them to think that way. It can be reasonably inferred from the passage. Sorry. That U.S. people who are critical of capitalism, who are supportive of capitalism, are likely to be sane. They're sane because no matter how much their economic knowledge and no matter what their political leaning, they're still the same effect. They're still anti-profit, equally anti-profit, equally bad at evaluating for-profit effects. Yes. 2035. This is the bottom right. 71 up to 71, 69, 71. Oh, 2050. Okay. Least profitable. Least profitable. So that's like what? Top left? Yeah. Hang on. No. Least profitable is just the most left. So that's book publishers. Okay. Which, funny and sad, but true. Actually, they might, maybe that's not true, but who knows. Which choice most accurately summarizes, based on the figure, their views of the societal values of the, pro sports. Pro sports is, let's see. Right, high profit, low value. It's the opposite of book publishers. What? Below average value, sure. Relatively little value, sure. More value than cell phones versus would not be better if they ceased to. Okay, I remember the answer, but I'm going to pretend that I don't, and I'm just going to go through this the normal way. Okay? Here's why. So you should be double checking against cell phones, but it actually has the lowest value of all, so you can just eliminate, right? So then you would be stuck with B, but if you want to increase B, would not be better if it ceased to exist. It means it has a greater than zero value, and if you look over here, right, better if they did not exist is zero, so it's greater than zero. So that's what that's getting at, which is kind of an unusual but interesting question to have. That's kind of a tough one. It's not tough intellectually, and it's not even necessarily tough in terms of you getting it right or wrong. I think most kids will get it right just because of process elimination, but it will take time, and you have to go. And if you want to have high confidence, so if you want to get it wrong, if you want to get it right with just medium confidence because you eliminated all three of the other ones and you don't know why B is right, that should take you maybe like a minute to minute and a half. But if you want to get high confidence on it and you don't want to feel uncomfortable about it, then you have to go figure it out, and you have to look at the zero, and you have to see that zero. And if you see that zero, then you'll have high confidence on it. And for you to have high confidence on it, that might take you up to 2 minutes. Depends on you. For me, it took me a minute and 20 seconds to get high confidence on this, but this is also my third time seeing it. Let's actually see how well I did getting that answer my first time. And my first time, that took me 2 minutes and 15 seconds. See, it took me a long time to get that answer. That said, I did get perfect 10 out of 10 on my first time, but that was a long time, 2 minutes and 15 seconds to get that answer. Oops, hang on. Okay. So, 2 minutes So right now, I am now a minute and 30 faster than on my first time actually taking this test, because even though I'm trying to take it slow and trying to make it feel more realistic, apparently on the first time that I took this test, I struggled a little harder. Okay, so 12:12 is not a great show. On my if I were taking this test and I were at 22:30 on this one, on my third timer, this would be great. This would be great because it'd be like 12 minutes for the first passage, 10 minutes for the second passage. You know, I just need to have one more passage where I do it in 10 minutes and I'll feel really good, right? Because my model is 10, 10, 13, 13, 13, right? With 6 minutes of buffer time. It's basically my model for how to time these things. But here, but actually, you know, when I took this the first time, it took me 12:12. And 12:12 is not great because now it's very unlikely I'm gonna have 10:10 later on. So it means I've been cutting into my buffer time. So something to keep in mind. Wow, I'm tired. Okay. So let's actually score this because, you know, who knows, I might have made some stupid mistake. I chose 11 through 15, DBCBD, and then I chose DCC. Wait, what number was that? That was 16. DCC are correct. And then AB, 19AB, 19AB, so that's 10 out of 10. Again, this is my third time. Oh, actually, this one is probably my second time seeing this passage. Maybe third, but I think it's second. So it's a retake. So that's why I'm going through this so fast. Tips for this passage. Impact, so be aware of that impact. Get the two reasons 1 and 2. The reasons why we think this way. And then one of the hard things about this passage is that you really have to know that this whole thing is about how we think, how we are blinded. So it's not about whether it's true that companies who seek profit are good for society. Okay, it just assumes that it's true that companies that are for profit are actually beneficial for society. You know that it's assuming it. In fact, research shows the opposite is true, and then they don't go into the research. They don't. They just assume it's true for the rest of this passage. Okay, so actually, that's probably the first thing to notice. Okay. They actually do not continue to develop this idea other than assuming that it's true. That's the first thing to actually really understand if you want to get this quickly. Then this is impact over here. We get this impact on this side. Then we get, why, like the sort of, like the cognitively, why, like why, where does this come from? Where does this bias come from? And then there was the first study, okay? And then the second study. There's the attenuation thing. Crazy. It's crazy because most of these questions the questions don't even fully cover all the whole passage, which is a little unfair. I think. I feel like the SAT, the College Board should do a little better job of like making sure that trying to understand the passage is rewarded. So passages like this where the questions don't cover some of the key transitions, would make it feel like Saul's strategy is not the ideal strategy, because my strategy is to read the passage and understand it first. And I think the college board should be actively trying to reward that way of taking the test. But this particular passage is not a good example of that, because the college board clearly missed some opportunities to ask questions about certain parts of the passage, like, about the two studies. It doesn't ask about the two studies, and it doesn't even ask about like the attenuation. It basically ignores. It kind of just ignores it. The questions almost ignore all of this, almost. It only goes down to here, but it doesn't really get into any of the details there. That's not I would not say this is a well-designed set of questions then. It really should, the college board should reward careful reading. But in this particular passage, it would make it seem like you don't have to read, and you don't have to read, guys. You can always use the other strategy that everyone else talks about, just experiment. Just try my approach and try their approach and see what actually generally works better for you. I still think my approach generally works better because it forces you to actually be better at reading, which who'd have thunk it, that would lead to a higher reading score. But you never have to use my approach. But yeah, this is one of those cases where it would seem like my approach is less efficient. So did I finish my tips? This is super important though. You should always know qualifications and where the qualifications are and aren't. And this is actually like the inverse of a qualification. This is actually an unqualification. It's like it holds whether you're liberal or conservative, whether you're economically educated or not, which is like a crazy finding. It's a very surprising finding. So you should be kind of interested in that bit over there. So that's super interesting. And then the U.S. limitation, that is a qualification. You should know about that. So those are things to paying attention to. 1, 2. It's kind of dense, actually. There's a lot of logical transitions. There's many transitions in this particular passage because the more data you explain, the less transitions that you can have, because you're trying to, like, data and evidence means that you're trying to build up the thing that you're talking about. So that means that after you make that transition to a point, if you have data and evidence, that becomes longer, and the longer it becomes, the fewer transitions you can have on the same page, right? But this one, there's not a lot of data. It just sort of cursorily summarizes everything and just moves on. So it just makes point after point after point after point, which makes this kind of a harder passage to read. It's denser. You have to be nimble on your feet. Okay, so that is the second passage. And I am yawning like crazy. I'm just so tired right now. So I'm gonna go. I need to take a break, guys. I'm conking out. So dude, I'm actually debating whether I should just stop the stream and take like a 30-minute nap. Oh, dude, so tired. So tired. Or like not a 30, like a 15-minute nap, but 30-minute break to get my body started again. Oh, dude. So tired. Guys, I think that's actually a better idea. I think I should actually do a proper break and have like a 15-minute nap. That would make the rest of the stream so much better. So guys, I'm going to put up I'm gonna take a quick break. I see no questions, so I'm going straight into the break, and I'll be back after 30 minutes. All right. Guys, what's up? Hey, Asma. Is that you, Asma, there? Oh, dude, I was so tired. I could not explain anything. I was like sleepy. I was like feeling itchy and twitchy and like fidgety. But I actually had like a proper 15, like I fell asleep for 10-15 minutes. So I feel a little better now. I should be able to get through and finish this test. Okay, so let's get into this test. I feel a lot better now. Okay, I need to set up my my stopwatch. So give me a sec. All right, that is 22 minutes and 30 seconds. All right, and we're getting into it now. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Chris Brody, no use moving the cheese. What the heck? Okay. A mouse, so we're talking about mouse, and we're talking about a superpower of the mouse, the nose, a smell. Super smeller. Way more sensitive. A way more sensitive nose. Okay, this is like an easier science question, passage. The deletion or knockout, so it's important to know these words, of a gene. Normally, deletion of a gene isn't good, but for KV 1.3, which has some connection with letting potassium ions, and which is found in the immunological T cells, neurons, and hippocampus, and the olfactory bulb. It's found in the brain and T cells, and the olfactory. Okay, so it's in a lot of locations or something. This thing, it actually, if you delete it, you become much more sensitive. See, in neurons, the K+, the potassium channels, act like governors on an engine, restricting. But if you remove the block, then obviously what happens is you start smelling like a crazy person. Oh, no, wait, so that's not even the really important. Okay, that's interesting. DF is way more important than RF. RF is not that important. Oh, dude, I'm still sleepy. Ugh, okay, I almost yawned. Discovered that the loss of the channel caused one type of olfactory, the mitral cell, to fire at lower thresholds, higher frequencies. Fire more, yeah, basically fire more. The mutant cells were insensitive to chemical messages that normally reign in the flow. Okay, what kind of chemical messages? But sure. Leonard, so LK. These changes resulted in greater excitability, better timing, phase. Okay, so this is not an easy science passage. Phase locking the mitral cells. Okay, I don't know. What is that? What's phase locking? And thereby increasing the coherence of the signals. Okay, very technical. Extremely technical. 2550. The mutation also, okay, so this paragraph is all about sensitivity. Now this also causes structural changes, okay? This was all sensitivity, this is structural changes. Connected, in this part of the brain, the receptor cells connect to the mitral cells. Okay, we're back to the mitral cells, but there's receptor cells that would connect to mitral cells, and clusters called glomeruli. And the knockout mice, okay, knockout is deleted mice, the mutated mice. The mutated mice have glomeruli, which were smaller, okay, but more abundant, okay. Many, many more glomeruli. Glomeruli. More processing units. Sure, that makes sense to me. Fadul, Deborah Fadul suggests this might increase the resolution of the signal. Wow, that's a lot about the mechanisms of this stuff. Okay, sure, so that's 27 minutes. Okay, one is about how the removing of the blocking does all this stuff, and one is about the glomeruli becoming smaller and more frequent. Oof, okay, complex orders. Okay, so the mutant mice could distinguish with 15 times better. They were also better at detecting differences between subtle. What's the difference? Distinguish between complex orders and then detecting the differences? That sounds like the same. Okay, detecting differences, sure, that sounds similar. The most amazing change was a huge increase in sensitivity. Okay. So there's a distinguishing feature, and then there's a sensitivity feature. There's two things that I can tell, at least. It's kind of like three things, but it seems to me like two things. We were looking for an effect. Interesting. So that comes at the very end. All right, 28:10. Oh, let me finish. 3, 2, 1, let's go. I'm going to continue and let me finish off this passage. Retrieving food buried in varying dilutions. Okay, so you can retrieve it versus how much do you retrieve it versus how diluted is it, and obviously the mutant mice can retrieve it at 10 billion and on, whereas the previous mice cannot. So the difference is 1 billion versus 1 trillion. Okay, 1 billion versus 1 trillion. That's 29. Oh, sorry, I should stop. Stopping time, and okay, I'm still a little sleepy, but I'm going to keep pushing on, and let's finish this third passage. So I'm going to do a quick summary of the third passage. When I do this, okay, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to do it first. Regurgitate, okay, in as much detail as possible, everything you remember from the top left to the bottom left, to the top right, to the bottom right, and including the infographic. Everything that you remember about the whole passage, recall it from memory without looking at the passage. And then compare how your map does with mine. Okay, here's my map of the passage. In the top left, we have this Spider-Man superhero metaphor, and then we talk about mice. Okay, so it sounded very casual at first. It's definitely not casual afterwards, but okay, we have that little thing. Super smeller mice. Then, still on top, kind of moving to the second paragraph, we talk about how they have like crazy. We talk about DF, okay, Deborah Fadul or something like that. DF, who got these mice from RF, Richard, somebody else, but basically. She, hang on. Actually, I don't know if we start with DF or if it goes right into mechanisms, but basically with the DF gets mentioned, and I don't know if it's before or after, but we also mentioned this mechanism of how there's like a K plus the potassium ions. Oh, and this particular KV something, the gene, okay? Oh, okay, what it is deletion is normally a bad thing, but in the mice, it seems to not be a bad thing when it's with this particular gene, this KV something something gene. Now, then we get into a paragraph about how the KV gene, what it does is that there's potassium. It's in like a potassium ion channel or something, where it's related to like the olfactory part of the brain, something, okay, which is very complicated. And before that, we had some mention of like the Deborah Fadul, but I don't really remember the sequence of it. It's all just one big jumble to me, okay? But we're talking about the experiment setup, but we're also talking about the rationale about what the actual scientific reasoning is for this particular thing. It's jumbled up. It's on the left column, and then going down towards the bottom of the left column, we start seeing. Not the results yet. Oh, it's the second thing that's different. It's well, with these particular. So we're just okay. You know what it is? We got the Deborah Fadul first. Then we're talking about the two characteristics of these mice. The first characteristic of these mice is that because the genes are knocked out, they have all these like sensitivity stuff. Okay, something like that. And the second characteristic of these mice is that the structural features of their brain changes where they get more glomeruli. Okay. Smaller but more glomeruli, which increases resolution, okay? So those are the two features of these mice. And so we're not even in the experiment yet. We're just talking about what the mice are, what's different about these mice. Very long bit about that. That goes up until the top right, and then from the top right, we talk about two features. We're talking about the results now of the experiment, which is that they are able to distinguish complex and very subtle smells, and they are also able to have the most amazing thing though is they are 1,000 times more sensitive. 1,000 times more sensitive. Which, by the way, it shows up in the graph. In the graph, there's the 1 billion dilution and the 1 trillion dilution, and that's the big difference. That's a 1,000 times difference. So that's the top right. At the middle right, I don't remember the conclusion. There's some stuff in the middle right I don't fully remember, but at the very end it just says, hey, but we weren't even looking for olfactory. Like, we were just so totally surprised. We were actually looking at auditory signals or something like that. So there's some random comment like that, but I don't remember what happens before that. So that's my map of the passage. It's pretty clear. I kind of remember everything that happens on the left column to the top of the right column. The middle of the right column I don't remember, so that's sort of a foggy black area for me. And then the ending I remember. All right, so that's my map of the passage. How was your map of the passage compared to mine? I'm kind of I'm curious, so let me know in the comments below. I'm going to go into the questions now. I'm going to go to questions now. I am not sleepy. I'm very excited to do these questions. I am so excited to do these questions. I am very excited to do these questions. Oh my God, I'm going to go crazy. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, let's go. The primary purpose of the passage is to describe what's up with these mice. Yeah, what's up with these mice? 29, 25. Primarily serve to emphasize a very special thing about these mice. Sure, I guess that kind of works. Not practical. No. Contrast? No, not a contrast. Yep. 29, 50. Let's go. Which choice best supports the idea that super smeller mice can perceive distinction disorders that are very similar? Oh, okay, this is top right. Top right. Subtle. That's 53. Okay. 30, 15. Notice how fast I'm going, actually. This is crazy. 26, generated, most nearly means. generated using mice that were born, created, produced. Produced kind of, okay, yeah, produced. It's the best one. 30. 15 seconds, man. 15 seconds. 31, insensitive to. Most nearly means unable to detect, right? So unresponsive to. I know that even without, because I remember that word. I remember that word from context. Which conclusion about the functioning of the sense of smell is best supported? Hang on. The functioning of the sense of smell in mice is best supported. What do we learn about the sense of smell in mice? We learn that that there's like a reason for it to block. Hang on. Oh, hey, interesting. The fewer the less. Yes, we actually. Wow, that's crazy. I am taking this for probably my second time in my life. But so I don't remember. This is actually pretty close to how I would normally do it, except I did understand the passage a little clearer this time. So I'll compare it to. Okay, yeah, but the glomeruli, because I actually had a hard time the first time I had this. See, we have this as a result, right? So if we want to get to 44 through 49, that's kind of the evidence that I'm looking at. Okay. Ooh, that one's tough. 42 to 45. Let me just double check. Half as large, but twice as good as a result. Okay, no, I get the two sentences that I was originally thinking. Okay, 42, 45. That's good. Because the sense of smell is at, that's what we learn. And actually, all of this is, two of these are talking about glomeruli, and the other two are talking about the connections with the mitral cells and all this stuff. But yeah, this is, I think if I were taking this for the first time, I'd be only medium confidence because I'd want to double check A and B. So I would circle and come back, but I already know that, kind of know this answer because I've taken this before. The discovery of the super smeller mice was unexpected because the researchers were looking at auditory. They were looking at auditory. Originally, yeah, that is 32.55. The mean percent success of the wild-type mice at retrieving the food reward was no greater than 50 for which of the following, when we're talking about the wild mice, okay? So basically isn't that 10 billion? Yeah. So 50 is over here, so we need to have no greater than 50, so that's 10 billion, yeah. 10 billion to 10 billion. Okay, so that's 3330. Then we're here. According to the figure, at which peppermint did the mean percent success at retrieving the food reward rate above 90% for both? For both. 90 for both is only 100, huh? Okay, yeah, it's only 100. So that is 3405. Stop time. Okay. Oh, I didn't see it. I didn't see question 31. I'm going to go to question 31. 31. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. According to the figure, oh wow, 3 questions from the figure. Which statement best supports what the author considers the most surprising finding compared to... Oh, dude, this one's actually easy as long as you remember this, okay? It's the most amazing thing is that it had 1,000 times more ability. So it's this 1 billion versus 1 trillion. That's the main thing you need to know, okay? The 1 billion versus the 1 trillion. That's a 1,000. And I actually did see that connection right away when I first read it, on the first time that I read it. I remember this. So you're looking for that 1,000 factor difference. So, wow, these answer choices are long. But basically, you're looking for 1,000. Okay? The most surprising finding compared to that. Both had an increase. No. Both had an increase. No. The wild type had an increase in success when the peppermint was changed from 1 million to 10. No. Okay, we're just talking about random minor ups and downs. had better than 50. 50 seems okay. Had the same success. No, same. Okay, what? Oh, I see. I misread the 50. Of course, 50 just means detection. 1 billion versus. Oh my God, I remember this. This is a typo. This is supposed to say trillion. Right. Better than 50% success up to 1 billion, where they had better than 50% success, was greater than 1 trillion. This is supposed to say trillion. Yeah, this is a typo, guys. It's a weird typo. Yeah, it's a typo. It has to be C, but it has to say billion, trillion. It makes no sense because that's the only way you're gonna get the 1 billion versus 1 trillion over here. So that's C. But there's a typo, and that typo is probably because someone rewrote the QAS. Someone rewrote the QAS to match. Like they took the digital QAS and typed it out so that it looks like a PDF QAS, and they made a typo there. So that is 3620. Now that is probably way faster than when I did it the first time. Oh, not way faster actually. That's crazy. That's only a minute faster. Shocking. But did I get 10 out of 10 on this one? How well did I do? I didn't write down. Okay, when I did it the first time, interesting. Okay, well, I'm looking at my sorry, I was about to yawn again. Okay, I'm looking at my PDF, the one that I just did, and I'm just gonna get right into, okay, the scoring. Here we go. For 21-22, I chose BA. BA are correct. Then I chose DCCC from 23. DCCC are correct. Then I chose DBD. DBD are correct. Then 30, I chose AC. AC are correct. So I got 11 out of 11. Again, it's important to emphasize that this is my second time, maybe my third time, but definitely at least my second time taking this test. So I have seen this before. But that said, you should still be able to get a sense of how to understand the passage. I'm trying to, even if I kind of know the questions in advance, I'm trying to at least talk out loud as if I don't. And by the way, it's not for all 11 questions. I only remember 1 or 2 of these questions in advance, so it's not like a massive advantage. That said, you should still know that I do have a structural memory of what these passages were talking about. Even though I can't remember all the questions in advance, I still kind of know I kind of know in a way what to be focusing on. So this is not as clean of a stream as my other streams. Okay, I'm about to go into the 4th passage, but before I do, I should do a quick rundown of tips for this passage. For this passage, when you're first reading this, you should always be sensitive, okay? The first thing is you should always be sensitive to technical definitions, okay? Or technical terms. So there's a casual term and a technical term. Do not ignore the technical term. Know the technical term, okay? That's super important over here. Okay, this is really important. Then we talk about KV 1.3. You should know that basically, you should know what the mechanism is. So KV 1.3 removes the block of the potassium channel. Maybe if you can't remember the potassium channel, you just have to know that KV 1.3 has some sort of governing function where it restricts things. Okay? when you're reading through the sentences, you know, you should still be kind of, you want to understand as much of this as possible. You don't want to just get frustrated and sort of skip the details. Okay, like you might not remember like the names of everything, but you should know how the mechanisms play out. So I didn't know what the heck phase locking, all that stuff meant, but the main thing I was looking for here is I realized that this mitral cell was going to be important. Okay, I didn't know this the first time that I read it because I think I rushed it when I read it the first time. Let me actually go double check how long I took to read this. I took only 4 minutes and 40 seconds to read this the first time, but I bet I took longer on this second time. I took almost 6 minutes, 5 minutes and 40 seconds on the second time. And I think that pays off, okay? Rushing the reading does not usually pay off. So, yeah, so like just making sure that you don't get overwhelmed by these details. So the mitral cell is the thing that gets affected by the KV 1.3. So just, you know, circle it, just know it, the mitral cell. And then these, like, and then basically all of these words of greater excitability, better timing, coherence, all of this is just talking about how the nose becomes more sensitive, the more it gets turned on more frequently. Okay, so as long as you understand that, you should be good. Okay, you don't have to understand everything, but it's as long as you get that the mitral cell gets more hyperactive or something like that, then because the block is removed by the KV 1.3 gene being deleted, you know, as long as you understand that, then you should be good. Then over here, yeah, glomeruli having processing units, you should just understand that increases the resolution. So that's super important. Yeah, so get the mitral cell and get the glomeruli. That's the main thing you need to pick up on as you're reading this. And then, yeah, this is the results. And yeah, why was it a surprise? Get those. So with science, you should be close reading and you should be understanding how all these fit together. And that's how you do it. Those are my tips for the third passage. I'm about to move into the fourth passage. And before I move in, I want to get a quick drink. So I'll be right back. Give me a sec. All right, I'm back. So let's get started. On the fourth passage. I am not sleepy. I'm very excited. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Albert Luthuli, Africa and Freedom. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in the struggle, so Nobel Peace Prize, against apartheid, struggling against apartheid. So 1948 to 1999, the year it was abolished. Okay. So we have 3650 right now. Let's keep going. Africa and Freedom. I actually don't know, like, I wouldn't know what to predict when I see this blurb. I wouldn't know what kind of passage will come out. Some of the greatest men of our century have stood here. The greatest men have received this award. Men whom future generations will regard, you know, as having shaped the world. No one could be left unmoved at being plucked from the village of Groutville, a name to be plucked from the banishment in the rural backwater. Grafville is rural backwater. To be lifted out of the narrow confines of South Africa's internal politics. He's talking about himself right now. No one could be left unmoved by this honor of being placed in the shadow of these great men. Okay? 3750. This award could not be for me alone, not just for South Africa, but for Africa as a whole. He increases the scope to not just him. He zooms in, then he zooms out. As Africa presently is most deeply torn with strife, racial conflict. How strange, interesting, how strange is it that a man of Africa should be given an award for peace and brotherhood? I see. He's setting up a conflict between the Peace Prize and Africa. There's a conflict there. There's been little peace in Africa, so it's contradictory. How can a man from Africa get the Peace Prize when there's been war? Oops. Whoa. When there's been war, when there's been battles with arms and some without. We are in revolution against oppression, and peace and revolution are not uneasy bedfellows. They don't sleep well together. Hang on, what? So there's a transition here. Up until 24, it's about the contradiction. 24 to 27, it's actually saying, well, we are fighting for peace. We are warring for peace. That's how he resolves the contradiction. We've been carved up by the great European powers, alien governments, military conquest. We've been beaten down, carved up, conquested, disrupted. In these times, there have been no peace, no brotherhood. But now, the stirring. So this is a historical shift. But now, are reclaiming their land, their rights, their dignity, their nationhood. We're restoring national sovereignty and independence and equality and dignity. Okay. Through revolution. So this is hard for some kids to figure out the logic of, but I'll explain in a sec. But basically, we're saying that, hey, Europe, you European peace lovers, you might not understand our wars, but our wars are for peace, and you should understand. Because you guys went through revolution as well. And you overcame your feudal backwardness and got all of these things. By comparison, we have only been doing it less than a decade, whereas for you, you've gone for years and years and years. We are actually ours is orderly, quick. So basically, he's addressing a criticism of Africa being in turmoil, and he's saying, actually, we're doing better than Europe did. There's a paradox. How great is the paradox? How much greater the honor? Where the brotherhood is illegal, outlaw, banished, okay? Where to work. This is a very spicy Peace Prize statement. Even here, where white rule seems determined not to change, We are asserting ourselves. Okay, and a quest for peace and brother. Interesting. 42:35. Stop time. Okay, I'm about to go and summarize, all right, from top to bottom, this whole passage. You guys should do the same thing and compare how your map of the passage looks with how my map looks, okay? Let's get into it. I'm gonna look away from the passage. Here we go. Lutuli says, how great the men who have received this award are great men. Sure. I am honored to be plucked out from a rural backwater Groutville and to be placed in their shadow. Okay? Standard opener. Being humble. Then he dedicates for Africa. This is not just for me or for South Africa, it's for all of Africa. He zooms out. Then he says, it's paradoxical. Weird that someone who is from a continent ravaged by war and revolution could receive the prize for peace and brotherhood. Very strange. And he describes how bad the situation is. Then he resolves that contradiction by saying, we are warring, we are creating revolution for peace and brotherhood. Okay? And the context here is that probably white Europeans would want him to denounce the war and the revolutions, right? We're giving you the Peace Prize, so denounce the revolutions, right? And he's like, no, I'm not going to denounce our fighting. We're fighting for a good cause. So to you guys who are in a stable position, you might not understand, but I'm not going to. Just because you don't understand, you want me to denounce the violence, right? Doesn't mean that I will, cause here's why. And then we go into the history. The history is our continent has been carved up, oppressed basically, by basically Europe. He doesn't directly point the finger, but it's been oppressed, okay? Due to white Europeans, okay? Whereas recently, now we're fighting for revolution. So he goes back to that point, and that's the bottom of the left column. Then moving over to the top of the right column, and starting at the very bottom, moving to the top right, he gets into how. Okay, I feel like there's like a little tiny bit that I don't fully remember, so that's black to me. But then after that, at the top of the right column, he says, you guys should understand. Because you Europeans, centuries of wars, and you went through feudal backwardness and came to like industrialization and democracy and a golden age. You guys got to do it over many, many, many years. Africa, our violence, the violence that you guys seem to dislike so much, it's been relatively quick compared to you European mofos. Which is such an awesome argument, man. It's such a, anyway. It's such a powerful argument. Like, get off my back, fool, is basically what he's saying. Then after that, he goes into just like a lofty, like, we're fighting for the brotherhood of man. Isn't that basically what he says at the end? We're fighting for the brotherhood of man. I think that's basically the end. I kind of forgot the bottom, like middle to the bottom right. But I think that's good enough, honestly. I think that's good enough. So that is my map of the passage. How does your map of the passage compare to mine? Okay, let me know in the comments below. Okay, now let's go into the questions. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh wait, hang on, my pencil is not ready. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Over the course of the passage, the focus shifts from him receiving the award in Africa to history to... Hang on, let me see the ending. Let me double check the ending. Okay, yeah. Talking about... What? I actually don't know if there's a single focus that changes. Okay, I can't find it. So... Oh, well, this is easy. The significance of an award to a discussion of the struggles to achieve the... Yeah, I mean, that's kind of awkward because that literally happens right here after the very first paragraph. So it's kind of an awkward focus. That's like an awkwardly worded question. Described as that of someone who is trying to... yeah, resolute reformer. Yeah, he defends the revolution, and he's resolute. That means he's standing on that's a hard position to be. It's hard. It's hard to defend violence. That's not an easy argument to make. He's resolute. His description of the villa of Graf serves to emphasize how honored he is. No, not uniquely qualified. The honor he feels. Modest, yes, exactly. 4405. Based on the passage, Lutulu most likely believes the revolutions taking place in Africa are just a natural part of just a natural thing in the course of history. Necessary, yeah, correct. Best evidence for that is top right, maybe top right. Hey, I don't see like amazing. So this is from 20 to 37. I don't see anything amazing. So it's okay. I see. Let's look at the bottom. I was looking in the wrong place. Here. Wait, oh, this right here. Right, there can be no peace. So that's 26, 27 specifically. 26, 27 is the most useful. Yep. 4505. Basis most nearly means. Basis most nearly means 43. The basis, thus in the terminal relation, the basis is being restored. The basis for peace is being restored. The foundation. Oh, there we go. Foundation is exactly. I swear I did not look at it when I guessed it. Okay. It can reasonably be inferred from the passage that he views Europe's fight for democracy as part of the necessary process of becoming, campaign with it. Hang on. Indirectly cause the failure of the economy. Their fight for democracy. Oh, wow. I guess it's A. Campaign is such a weird word, but here, this is inspiring. The golden age for which people have striven, that's inspiring. Campaign is such a strange word for this. Cause the failure, more radical. No. So that's not the criticism here. So I can just eliminate that. Where's my time? 46:55. Oh, that was tough. Okay, that was almost A minute and a half. Oh, best evidence. Okay. That is up till 53. Before up till 53. Okay, that's 4720. In comparing revolutions in Europe and Africa, makes the assumption that he's assuming that something about speed, like they're faster. Let me see. Oh, I see. The pursuit will give the same social improvements. The same improvements. That makes sense. No, not different. No, not share in the prosperity of Africa. The leaders recognize, we're not talking about what they are thinking. So yeah, the same improvements, 48 exactly right now. Africa's quest for democracy is more commendable because it's faster and bloodless. Faster and bloodless. Okay, there we go. 48-20. The rhetorical strategy fits 65 to 78. Okay, 65 to 78. How great is the paradox? Do 78. Okay, there's a lot of repetition here. How great is the paradox and how much greater the word that to one where. And this repetition is a listing. It's a listing of the badness of the situation in terms of brotherhood. Okay, we're listing out all of the injustices, all of the challenges for the struggle for brotherhood here. So the rhetorical strategy is listing out all the challenges. I guess kind of awkward, unsolvable, exaggeration, repetitive. Yes, there we go. 49-25. Stop time. 49-25. Let's see how I did compared to my first time seeing this. So when I first took it, I finished the previous passage at 37:10, and so I read it in about 6 minutes, and then I finished the whole thing in about 14 minutes. 14 minutes, okay? This time, okay, I read it in 6 minutes, that's the same, a little longer, 6 minutes and 15 seconds, a little longer, and I finished it in, oh crap, I finished it in 13 minutes. So that's actually about right. That makes sense. It makes sense that I only saved 1 minute longer on this one. So that means that even though I was more efficient than my first time, it wasn't like a dramatic difference. Okay. Now, let's get into the questions themselves. Here's the score. I chose A, C, B, starting at 32. A, C, B. Hang on, let me... A, C, B are correct. B, B, D, A are correct. Then B, C, D, D, starting at 39. B, C, D, D, those are correct. So I did 11 for 11. Okay. This is a retake, so that's why I'm doing it like really well with really high confidence. But you know, it's better to have a recording of my second or third time taking a test than to never take a recording at all. Because second or third time still means I don't fully remember the passage. But like after 10 times or 20 times, I'll start definitely remembering the entire passage. So it's good to have this recording out there. Joaquin, what's up? I am now finishing off passage 4, and here's my tips for this Lutuli passage. Okay. The first paragraph, you just have to know it's a standard opener. It's just you being humble. Okay, you just gotta get out. You just gotta not be confused by that. Okay, and so actually, you should be wondering what's his point. You should still be wondering what is he gonna talk about. So how do you get there? You get there first by understanding this how strange. Okay, and this is gonna be really hard for you to understand. Okay, but when I first read it, I understood, and I remember. I swear I made a recording of my first time reading this, but I can't find it. But I remember having this reaction of like, "Holy crap, man! This is such an intense speech." Because what he's doing is he's positioning himself in this very intelligent, very big brain way of defending the violence that the Europeans might poo-poo, right? They might be like, they might be shunning the violence in Africa, but he's like framing the argument that it's actually a good thing, and then by the right side, he's like saying, you guys should understand. So it's such a good argument. So the way to pick that up is to really be like, when he says how strange, you can start picking up what his attitude is, right? And then this word against is the solution to that contradiction. You have to pick that up. Okay, if you don't pick that up, you will get lost for this whole essay, whole speech. So you have to pick up that the word, yes, I am receiving a peace prize, but I am representing a continent in war. How can this make any sense? It's because we are warring for peace. We are warring against oppression. Peace and revolution, they are not normally together, but we need this revolution, which is violent seeming, in order to fight the forces, in order to gain peace. Okay, this is super important. This part is super important. You have to understand this 100% before going on. Then after that, this is the part where we kind of blame Europe a little bit, okay? But he doesn't actually blame them, It's only kind of the minor nuance. He doesn't actually blame them. He just talks about the situation of Africa, how disadvantaged it's been. But now we are fighting for it, okay? And this is a noble revolution. It's a noble revolution. So this is like the sort of mic drop argument, personally, for me, is where he's like, you guys should understand. Don't be hypocritical that you guys can have your endless civil wars in Europe to make democracy and modernization and industrialization happen, and to not to shun the same process when it's folding out in Africa. Give us our time to figure this out as well. Okay, so that's a really great argument, and that's how you pick that up. And honestly, after that, it's not. Oh, and then you understand that we're talking about South Africa specifically here. South Africa being a place of oppression and injustice. So, and honestly, this part, even if you don't get it, it's easy to understand if you just go back to it during the questions. So the really key parts to really catch is the paradoxes here and the solution to the paradox, and then hey, you guys should understand. As long as you understand those bits, the other parts you should be able to fill in the rest kind of on the go. Okay? So I think those are my tips for reading this passage, breaking down this passage in real time. All right, so that's the fourth passage. Getting into the final passage now. I am not sleepy. I am excited. Super excited to do this passage. Dude, I want to see. I really wish the YouTube licensing stuff would not be. I wish I could just play a minute of music. I just want to listen to music to wake myself up. So sad. Okay, Is that why? Is that why? Not SoundCloud. Is that why Bandcamp? Or I guess SoundCloud. Is that why SoundCloud is big? Because SoundCloud, if for artists on SoundCloud, are they like, since it's not like a controlled by all the major labels, you know, are artists just cool with you using their music as long as you like link them, you know? Because if that's true, then I could definitely listen to SoundCloud. The problem is that I don't listen to SoundCloud, so I'd have to find music that excites me. Modern music, contemporary music that excites me, which just might be a whole job in and of itself. But I want to be able to play music on the stream, just to like, because I need music sometimes to just wake up, man. Anyway, let's go. Just random ramble because I'm tired. All right, I'm looking at this passage. I'm at 49:27. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. How Mars moon Phobos got its grooves. Okay, apparently we're talking about the surface of the moon. It's falling apart. Whoa, okay. These are 1 year apart from each other. Huh. Okay, so that's 49:45. Super hungry. Mars suffered from impacts, and that scarred the surface, creating the grooves. Okay. Researchers say. In 1976, the Viking orbiter revealed that the surface has these grooves. Okay. But the origin is heavily debated, so it's not a sure thing. But now we have a pair in this new study, and concluded the only one that holds water. Holds water is an idiom. The grooves are chains of secondary impacts. Okay. Landing sites of material blasted by impacts on the red planet. So like shrapnel from the red planet. Kind of tore it up. Using data and images. This is the actual methodology now. Okay, what did they use? They used data and images. They mapped the grooves in much greater detail than ever before. And calculated that the amount of Mars material needed to form all of the grooves is about... They only needed 2 orders of magnitude lower than the actual ejecta, the shrapnel that I was talking about, the craters. Wait, 2 orders of magnitude lower is like 100 times lower? Is that not what that means? 2 orders means 100 times, right? So you're saying that the ejecta was 100 times more than was needed to create that? I guess that makes sense, right? That makes sense. Because not all ejecta is gonna scratch it, but sure. Everything fits in with the hypothesis. We can even trace the ejecta. That's a different type of thing, okay? To source areas. Okay, we can, but these are all simulations. These are all projections, okay? These aren't actually observed things. They're just projecting and matching the data to each other. I've previously speculated that they are, so this is other scientists, are fractures from tidal forces, okay? Tidal fractures. But that has not been accepted generally. Wait, Murray. Sorry, I forgot to pay attention to Murray. John Murray. Okay. We don't even have the names of the original guys? Okay. Oh no, this is one of the original guys. I see. Murray. For instance, the near perfect alignment of the groups doesn't fit with other fracture fields. Doesn't fit. Okay. It's too aligned. I guess tidal fractures don't do aligned things. 52:35. Oh, whoa, other hypotheses. Wow, okay. I was not expecting. Are results of local impacts. Not impacts on Mars, but local impacts. Okay? As in on Phobos. Kicked up ejecta, the shower Phobos. So this is like shrapnel, but off of Phobos. Different hypothesis is that rolling boulders, okay, so local impacts and boulders. Or, wow, there's another one. Goes maybe orbiting debris. Wow, that's a lot, but none of these ideas can explain all. Sure. 53:20. I'm so hungry. Phobos grooves were long thought to be fractures caused by the impact that formed a Stickney crater. Wait, isn't that the local impacts? Okay. The collision was so powerful it came close. However, the grooves don't radiate outward, but from a focal point nearby. What? Oh, so this is not even. Passage 2 is not even giving credit to passage 1. What was the grooves mean? No, ejected from Mars. Oh, okay, never. Okay, low focal point nearby means Mars. I see. Oh, so no, this is the same side as passage 1. Terry Herford. Stretch marks that occur. What? Ah, I see. This is passage 1. Okay, we have but. I didn't see the but. This is passage 1. Stretch marks, but this is tidal. Okay. Tidal. That's this one over here. Okay. Boop. Oops. Oh my god, come on. Stop doing that. Producing tides. Making the planet and the moon egg-shaped. What the heck? Is that even related to? Oh, this is just generic background description, sorry. The same explanation was proposed for the grooves decades ago, so it's not a new explanation. At the time, however, it was thought to be more or less solid all the way through. When the tidal forces were calculated, stresses were too... Right, so the projections didn't work decades ago, but now we have new information that Phobos could just be a rubble pile. It's not solid all the way through. Barely holding. So therefore, it can be distorted with very little strength. And so it might be because building stress. So it's weak enough that this stress is going to cause the fail, so that supports the tidal. That supports the tidal forces. Okay? That can produce more than enough. So both, it's funny, both of their arguments are based on this hypothesis is just a projection and it's more than enough to create the thing that we're seeing. They line up very well, just like the previous one. This also fits that some grooves are younger, which would be the case. Right, because that would not make sense. This would be the opposite of passage 1, because if some of them are younger, then how would you have the ejector? Because, that wouldn't make any sense, because the ejector should all come, if it's off of if it's like shrapnel, then it should all come at the same time, roughly, right? Cool, so that's 55. Whew. Super hungry. Let's finish this. I'm getting desperate. Okay, but before I go into the questions, okay, I'm going to do a summary, top down, left to right, of everything I remember from the passage. I want you to do the same thing and compare your map of the passage to my map. How does your map do? Okay, here's mine. Passage 1, top left, 2014, it's talking about the grooves. How'd they get the grooves? Well, passage 1 talks about these new scientists at the very beginning, a pair of new scientists. Weirdly, they don't give the names of the new scientists right away. No, at the very beginning, it doesn't talk about the scientists. It talks about Mars and Phobos. But I don't remember the details, but it's just talk about the phenomenon first, okay? It talks about like Phobos having grooves, I guess. Does it talk about other hypotheses? I don't think so. I don't remember what it says exactly in the first paragraph. But then the second paragraph or so, it starts talking about this pair of researchers who have this new hypothesis that they came out with that's settling like a decades-long uncertainty about it, which is that ejecta, okay, stuff that bounced off of Mars, kind of tore through Phobos and created these marks, these grooves. And then we get into this other paragraph where we talk about the results, which is that they made all these, they got these very detailed images or something, or like a detailed map of images, and they basically ran a bunch of numbers, and they found out that the amount of ejecta from the blast from Mars is actually 100 times or 2 orders of magnitude greater than what was necessary to make those groove marks. So it's sufficient, okay? It's sufficient. Then it goes into, I think, like this is getting towards the bottom. It's like middle bottom of the left side where it talks about the tidal fracture hypothesis, and it just rejects it. But I don't remember the reasoning why it rejects it, but they just reject it. Okay. Then after that, there's this one paragraph that starts at the bottom left, goes to the top right, where they list like 4 other hypotheses, like many other hypotheses. And then the final paragraph just says, well, they're all wrong because they can't explain everything, whereas the ejecta hypothesis from Mars explains everything. Okay. So that's the first passage, which ends at the top right. And then starting from the middle top right, it goes into it talks about the local ejecta, like the Stickney crater. Wow, I'm shocked that I remember that name. But Stickney crater on the local Phobos, right? The Stickney crater was created by an impact, and then it sort of showered this debris that harmed, that created these, scratches basically on Phobos. But they reject that because it doesn't come concentrically. Instead, the evidence points to like a something focal. But I didn't fully understand that logic, so I'm going to skip that. But then, so that's like a black area right now in my map. But then, some researchers recently have been talking about Mars ejecta, and that's referring to passage 1 basically. But more recent evidence suggests tidal forces because they learned, I think this is the next paragraph, I think they learned that actually previously, decades ago, people thought that tidal forces might be a good explanation, but at that time they had a wrong assumption that Phobos was fully solid. Turns out though that we know now that Phobos is not fully solid. It's basically a pile of rubble. It's kind of loose, it's weak. So if it's basically a pile of rubble, then like the surface and like the surface and like the center, there's going to be a bunch of like stresses that are created between them, and so it's actually pretty fragile in a way. They don't use the word fragile, that's kind of the wrong word, but basically tidal forces are now more than sufficient, more than enough. Okay, it's definitely sufficient. It's more than enough to create all those. And this is going from the bottom right to the top left of the second page. It's more than enough to create all the ripples, grooves in Phobos. In fact, one benefit of this explanation is that it actually also explains why some of the grooves are younger and older than the other. Okay, that's my map of the passage. I think it's a very good map. How is your map? Let me know in the comments below. All right, I'm about to finish off this passage. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Which choice best supports the idea that the researchers have identified the points of origin? Points of origin. In passage 1. The research in passage 1. The points of origin, they just point to Mars, right? So over here. Wait, what's the question again? Have identified the points of origin for the materials they believe lead to. So, I guess I'll start with 14, 15, right? $14, 15, 16? Okay, that's excluded for some reason. 26, 28 is answer choice B. We can even trace. Oh, I see. That's completely forgot about that. That took way too long, but happens. What time is it right now? 56, 55. That took only 1 minute. That's actually not terrible. Chains, 13. Chains most nearly means chains of secondary impacts. Sequences of strings of That's 5720. Okay, that's 25 seconds. Radiate, scatter, I think, but let's look at 56. Just double checking. They don't radiate outward, right? That's what I was looking for. They don't scatter outward. Okay, this is talking about the debris from the material. So that's 5740 is what I'm trying to say. The debris the debris do not scatter outward in that concentric shape. According to Herford in passage 2, the gravitational pull between Mars and Phobos made them egg-shaped. Hang on, what? Let's double check who's Herford. Okay, here's Herford. It's really helpful that I have that circle there. Are like stretch marks. Okay. Sufficient to crack the surface. Yeah. I mean, isn't that basically just right? Underestimated? No, smaller Earth. What the heck? Okay, 5840. Crazy, I don't remember these questions at all, even though it's probably my second time taking this. 6669. Earth, and they create this, right, that's context about the power of the forces, of the, not questioning, distinction, no. A situation, no. Hang on, what? Earth and moon. Oh, same. I didn't see Earth and moon. Okay, I see. It is analogous. Yeah, sorry. I just completely brain fart. All right, here we go. Grooves are unlike to form in a single event because of the very last part where it's new, younger, different ages. There we go. 59, 45. Which choice best describes the relationship between the two passages? They disagree. Passage 2 refutes passage 1, basically. Challenges data? Definitely not. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Correct. 60. 10. Okay, Stickney crater formed when? Impact. Not secondary. Yeah. There was an object of impact. That's 60-30. Okay, look at how many no-look answers I'm doing just because I read it properly the first time. Which choice best describes how Herford would react to Murray? That tidal forces. Well, Murray thinks that near perfect alignment. Okay, so first of all, he thinks hasn't been generally accepted, hasn't gained universal approval, which I think Herford would agree with, right? And then there are several issues because the grooves align with each other and doesn't fit with the others. But then Herford would say, well, yeah, it doesn't, but then this one has, this Phobos is like a pile of rubble, which is new information. An understanding is like, okay, that's basically right. Oh, wow, okay, I can read that immediately and I know exactly what the abstraction is, but for you guys, it might be a little harder. But for now, I'm just gonna keep going on. 61-30. That one's, you know why? Because the understanding that is likely inaccurate is the understanding that Phobos is solid, and that is inaccurate, okay? That's the assumption that's underlying it. Yeah. So, I mean, I just know it. It's just completely accurate. So, which choice from passage 2 provides the best evidence? From passage 2, this is the thing about Phobos being solid. Okay, that's 72-76. Yeah, exactly. And I swear to God, I did not remember that from my first time taking this. All right, so that was I've been very honest about the questions that I did remember from my first or second time taking this test. But that one I did not. Okay, I literally just got that. So that is the benefit of my approach, guys. Read the damn passage and take your time and make sure you fully understand it, and it makes the predictions much easier. Okay, you should experiment with taking 6 minutes to read a passage that's hard, 7 minutes even to read a passage that's hard at first. You shouldn't be ideally you should not be taking more than 6 minutes on a passage for in the future, but at the beginning when you're just getting used to this, it's actually just take 7 minutes. Take 7 minutes to read a passage. Just let yourself do that. I've read more than 6 minutes for some of these passages as well, so it will feel different. Okay, so you should be experimenting with how long you can kind of stretch your reading period just to make sure that you fully understand, and then see how much you can speed up your questions, because you'll notice that a lot of times I can just do no-look answers, and also I don't do process elimination that much. I just choose and I move on. So you can save a lot of time and increase a lot of confidence by being able to do that. Okay, so that is my little bit of tactical commentary. Let's go into the score and finish off this baby. All right, 43 to 45 I chose BCC, extend. I guess that could make sense. Radiate outwards, extend outwards. It's kind of weird. I have to go back and double check that one, okay? But for now, BCC, and then I chose ADB are correct, and then I chose BBAD are correct. I think that's 10 questions. 10 questions. That's 9 out of 10. Hang on. By the way, how long did I take on my first time reading this? 37:10 to 51. So that took me 13 minutes to do it on my first time. And this time it took me 49:25 till 62:05. 12 minutes and 30 seconds. 12 minutes and 40 seconds specifically. 12 minutes and 40 seconds. So similar. It took me about 13 minutes to get through this test. Which makes sense. Okay, I wasn't much faster than my first time taking this test. All right, so that's that. Oh, and I just want to double check, because this is actually a different packet. Okay, I chose extend my first time, but this time I chose scatter. Maybe I rushed too much. Let me just see, because I did kind of rush on that one. That the grooves don't radiate outward from the crater itself, but from a focal point. Oh, you know what I was, guys? When I thought, instead of thinking grooves, I was thinking of the debris. Because I was thinking of the debris, I was thinking scatter. But this is actually an error I almost never make. I almost never make this kind of error. I can't remember the last time I made this kind of error where it's a vocab in context and I just mismatched the subject of the verb. Oh my god, that's a bad. I mean, this is it's good. It's good for me because it helps me to sympathize with some of you guys when you guys made these errors. But you know what the real reason I made this error was? I was just rushing too much. I didn't need to rush that much. I had time. So yeah, I should have just properly read radiate most nearly means. Instead of just guessing it, I should have been like, grooves don't blank. The grooves don't blank. I shouldn't have skipped over that word. So yeah, that's the lesson for that one. All right, let's go into the passage. The passage. Just know that we have the phenomenon, then we have the new study, and then we have the data. Okay, so this is the methodology. In the new study, we have the hypothesis, okay, and then we have the data, and we have counter hypotheses and the dismissal of those hypotheses, okay. Whereas over here, you have to be able to map, okay, which is which, right? You definitely need to be able to map this because this is the Phobos question or the Stickney crater question. And then you have this but, and then this Hereford, and then we have title, and then you definitely have to be able to match this, okay? If you can't match that, you're gonna get screwed. Be able to match that. I mean, you're not going to get screwed, but you're going to take too much time. Like, it's better to spend 30 seconds extra to match those things properly in the reading than to spend 1 or 2 minutes extra in the questions getting lost. Okay? Much better to get it right the first time by matching those. And then the historically, this part is super important. You have to understand why the hypothesis, which was old, was previously dismissed, but why it's now new, because this defends against this. Okay, so that's the strongest part of that reasoning. And then the final bit to really understand is you really also need to figure out why this explanation is still stronger than the other explanation, because they're both using the same logic. They're using the same, like, oh, we're going to project the possibility and then we're going to say it's sufficient. But just because something is sufficient for something to happen doesn't mean it necessarily had to happen that way, right? So, we're still hypothesizing. We're still sort of projecting what might have happened. We don't really know for sure. But one thing that this model has explanatory power over is the age of the differential age of the grooves. So that gives it an advantage over the previous one. So you need to understand this also fits. Okay, that will improve your passage. If I had to boil this down to the bare minimum tips, though, you just have to map these tidal forces together, and you have to map the impacts together, and you have to know that Mars impacts and local impacts and tidal forces are all three different things. As long as you're aware of them being three different things, you won't be totally struggling. Okay, so that will be it for the fifth passage of the April 2021. All right, guys. Ooh. Hang on. Where's my, all right. Caleb, what's up? That's my stream for today. Guys, any general thoughts? I see no questions today, so I think I'll just wrap up with final thoughts on the reading, and nothing special really, other than, guys, one thing I really learned by comparing my first time taking this test and then this recent time taking this test, and for those of you guys who missed the stream earlier, yes, this was not my first time taking the test, and I feel like I did record my first time taking this test, but I cannot find the file. One thing I learned from comparing my first time taking this test, and my second time is that the first time I actually rushed through the reading a little more. And this time I took my time with the reading, and obviously it helps that I'd previously read this, like at least once before. So that's obviously a handicap, but by having a stronger understanding of the reading, it just made me feel way more confident on the questions than I did on the first time. Because I remember in the first time there were multiple points where I was getting confused, and I would spend a minute or like 2 minutes or so on just doing process elimination and matching, like, what did it actually say in the passage, and going back and remembering what it actually said in the passage. So my strategy, my approach to the reading test is based on not rushing the reading and sort of making sure you do understand the reading, and that you can map out what the different parts of the logic are, and that once you have a solid map, then you should be able to just make predictions for all of these questions and get the answers pretty quickly. You should be looking to get like 4 to 5 no-look answers, right, out of every 10 questions. Like if there's 10 questions, 4 or 5 of them, you're not even going to look back. You're not even going to look back at the passage because you already know it. You already know the answer, right? That should happen 4 or 5 times per passage if you do my approach. So, yeah, that's just my general advice on that. Let's wrap this up with a couple announcements. I don't have real announcements other than, hey guys, if you have questions if you have further follow-up questions, just join us in the Discord. It's in the descriptions below. And besides that, just keep on growing every day, guys. Quality over quantity. Every question that you get wrong and every question that you get right, but you didn't have a lot of confidence on, that's an opportunity to change. And if you can just change a little every day, you really you make every single mistake count, and you learn the maximum that you can from that one mistake. Okay, and a mistake does not mean a wrong answer. Okay, you can have a right answer and still a mistake. So you learn everything that you can from. You can juice the shit. Juice the hell out of every single mistake, right? Then you will grow that much faster. You will. So take care of your growth day by day. Okay, stop worrying about the numbers, because the numbers will follow in the future. Focus on growing right now. Okay, and the outcomes will come slowly but surely. All right, take care, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.